What if I told you that these $37 Chinese carburetors off of Amazon, yeah, the one everyone calls junk, might actually work if you know what you're doing? Today we're throwing one of the most hated on carburetors in the game onto one of the cleanest Yamaha Banshees I've ever built, worth over 15 grand. Sounds insane, right? But I'm going to show you how proper tuning makes all the difference. We're going to dive into jetting, needle clips, idle screws, all the stuff most people skip. And by the end of the video, you'll see for yourself whether these cheap carbs are a total fail or a hidden gem. And hey, worst case scenario, we blow up a $15,000 quad for science. So stick around.
Demons and the fiends with the R in front of the F. They're the ones that scare me, got me running for my death. Protect them from me, Lord, please don't let them haunt me till death. The Antichrist is near and the world is so effed. Fake friends, plastic hearts and plastic faces. These are the ones I want out my spaces. I can't take the negative faces. These are the ones, they are the unsafest. And if I wanna live free, then I need the truth, honestly.
Welcome back, Stupid Fast Nation. Hope y'all are having a killer weekend. It has come to my attention that there is Chinese carburetors floating around the general market. Now, this is not new news to me. I just decided to make a video about it right now. I'll tell you guys, I went to a place in Illinois last week and I worked really hard on the Banshee with another Banshee builder to make it as fast as humanly possible. And while I can say I definitely think we did accomplish that, we did not accomplish it with my carburetors. So with that being said, I'll talk through some of the issues that we had with these are genuine Kians, and I will show you guys the differences between Chinese and OEM Kian, so that way you guys are fully aware of Chinese versus OEM Kian PWKs. And then we're going to do some modifications and we're going to see if Chinese carburetors actually work. And we're going to test them on my 521 Super Cub Banshee that is now running M1 methanol. So with that being said, let's get started. Let's jump into Chinese carburetors 101.
Please, Lord, watch me. Watch over me on this one.
All right, Rippers and Ripettes, and before we get started cracking the carbs open on this 521 glorious, now methanol fueled 521 Super Cub Yamaha Banshee, I've got a couple things we need to address real fast. One is the carburetor, and we'll get to that in a second. The other is the trip. I owe my man a huge thank you. He doesn't want me to say his name, but after doing the collaboration with Vasily down in Tennessee, we were ripping the GSXR 750 swapped mower. You can check a clip of that out here.
You know what, bro? I'll have you do the shakedown. Just go ahead and launch it. Give her hell.
Say less, bro.
Wow, dude!
And once I got back, I went straight to DeKalb, Illinois with this bad beast. I had to come all the way home. It was 11 hours each way, and then I drove another 12 hours to go out to DeKalb, Illinois. My man hooked me up with not only all the knowledge I needed to get this thing running on methanol, he helped me out with a lot of tips and tricks, some of what I will share with you today in this video, but also hooked me up with a ton of parts. And not that that's important for the channel. I mean, it really is though, because he hooked me up with a lot of Banshee parts. 4 mil crank, an extra 10 mil crank, which is actually in this motor right now. So then I put my 10 mil crank on the shelf. If I want to do another 521, I have other cases, tons of parts over there in the back, specifically for Yamaha Banshees, because I collect them. I refuse to sell my Banshee collection. I know some of you guys have probably hit me up in Messenger before and are like, Banshee parts, and I'm like, sorry, because I collect them, because I know how highly valuable these are going to become. They're already very valuable, and they're only going to grow in value over time. I'm not holding on to the stuff because it's valuable. I'm holding on to it because it's getting more and more expensive, and I don't want to have to then rebuy it later for a whole bunch more money. That doesn't make any sense to me. I try to think business smart, and so I try to buy things at a cheaper price, and I hang on to them so when the value goes up, if I need it, I have it and I don't have to pay extra. So with that being said, I'm not hanging on to my 2 Banshees, or 3, technically almost 3 Banshees I have. I'm not holding on to those to make money. This is my pride and joy. I love Yamaha Banshees. They're a big part of my heart and soul. So anyways, but I owe my buddy in DeKalb, Illinois a huge thank you for the parts, his time and energy, and the knowledge, man. He's a very wise guy. He spent the last 10, 15, 20 years dialing in his very own 521 Super Cub, which is incredible. I will show some clips of the trip, of the build. I did not vlog on the trip. I kind of just used it as like a vacation type thing where I was like, cool, I'm going to do Banshee work, which I love, which is like vacation for me. And then also get to hang out with a cool subscriber who had a ton of knowledge on running alcohol or methanol. It's technically, M1 is called methanol, but they all call it alcohol because it's like the lesser of the 2 evils. Anyways, we could get into that once we start dialing in the carburetors. But I just want to say thank you very much to my buddy in DeKalb, Illinois. I owe you one, bro. So anyways, let's get cracking on the 521. We have this carburetor here. Now, I have to do quite a bit of work on these carburetors. I will show you guys every single detail, but I wanted to cover this one because this is a spare that I have, and I want to show you guys something really important here. Now, I got just a touch greedy with this one when I was boring it out. Now, you can see 2 major things here. One is these grind marks here, because this had some sort of like wall here and a wall here to guide air, I guess, into the mid-body section of the carb. But basically, I shave those down. You don't really need those. The OEM Kian carbs don't have that. It's very, very round like that. But the thing I really wanted to show you was I got a touch greedy when I was putting this one on the lathe. And you can see ever so slightly on the left and right side of the carburetor, you can see that light passing through right there. Hold on, let me see if I can get you guys. See the light there? And let's check the other side. That light, it's not going to kill this, but what it does is the vacuum that you have to then pull into the motor, you have to lower the slide a little bit because this air will affect your idle. So if your slide normally sat like here to idle, that would let extra air in the sides. So then you would just lower this down a little bit until it wants to idle, and then you make sure both of them are synced. So while it won't hurt anything per se, because this thing's a drag beast, it's going to spend most of its time wide open. And I think something's wrong with the spring on this one because you don't really want to open all the way. But anyways, it will spend most of its time wide open. So that little tiny bit of air really doesn't matter a lot as long as you can get the idle tuned in properly. So let's go ahead and get started with the carburetors on this. And I will talk about every modification you need to do to this to make this good for your alcohol methanol and maybe help some peeps out that are a little bit in the dark with alcohol and methanol. Let's get it cracking. All right, guys, let's start with the Chinese carburetor, and I'll tell you guys everything I know about the Chinese carburetors. This here is an Amazon special. These are $36, I think. Looks just like a Kian PWK. Now, a couple differences right off the bat. You can tell there's no Kian logo here. You can see this is generally where Kian says Kian, obviously. And also the other thing I'd like to point out, these brass tubes right here that come right out of the top of this thing on both sides, these actually are not on factory Kians either. And I have the same exact Kian carb right here, and this one is a genuine Kian. And as you can see, they do look pretty similar in comparison. Very minor differences if the untrained eye would not be able to see this. So Kian, you can see the double nipple on the brass fitting here for the gas inlet. Everything else looks pretty much the same. And then you have these two, one on each side, that are not here on these guys. And then the other thing is, genuine keys come with a serial number, 72RA4VGA. So you can see without a doubt, this is a genuine key and PWK. There's no PWK. But the one thing I will say is, I used to buy these carburetors a couple years ago and run them on Banshees because they work very well. There's nothing that really stops this from working for the $36 price. And they used to say Kean and PWK and had the Sudco label, the warning label on the bowl, and the box also would say Kean carburetors, the Sudco labels, the whole 9 yards. Now they don't say that stuff anymore. I'm assuming because of a lawsuit. Now it's Moto Carb Air Striker, but they do measure the same. They are 38 millimeters, and they do work the same. So those are your major differences between the Chinese Kean and a factory PWK.
All right, guys, first things first, let's go ahead and get this carburetor fully disassembled. Everything's got to come off of this. I don't want stuff flying around as I'm putting this on the lathe. So we'll remove the slide, cap, spring, all the hoses, well as the float bowl, the float, and the entire center section of the carburetor where the dump tube for the main jet goes and the slide needle goes down inside. All of that is removable on a Key PWK, so you can have a fully empty barrel of inside the carburetor where the slide goes. That way you can bore straight through and keep her perfectly straight. Alright, rippers and ripettes, let's get started boring the carburetors out. If you're doing this at home, it is not that hard of a process. If you have your own lathe, just try to get the carb as centered as possible. I'll spend some time here putting this in the 3-jaw. I would prefer a 4-jaw, but this is what I have available at the moment, and I'm not ready to upgrade yet. And it works just fine. Just you can see me tapping on the edges there, making sure this thing is as straight as possible, and I'll spend some time doing this. Once I get it straight, and you see me checking it there with the bit, once I get it straight, I will bore this out and I will measure little by little. I will take 5/1000ths of an inch off little by little until I get my specified amount. We're shooting for above 41 millimeters. This is a 38.5 millimeter opening, I believe it was. And then we are looking to open this up about 3 millimeters in total.
Okay guys, now the next step is a little bit easier. We got to do some drilling and we got to do a little bit of tapping. This one was I already modified, but I did not drill for the power jet, and I will show you guys some pics of this over here, how I set my power jets up on my carburetors. Now there's a couple ways you can do it, and I'm not saying one is better than the other because I don't have data to back that up, but power jet installation is pretty simple. You want the power jet essentially to be somewhere in the center of this carburetor where the nozzle comes in. So you're going to drill into the body of this carburetor, run that nozzle in so it's somewhere in the center hole of this, so that when this thing opens up, the venturi, which is a term we use to describe airflow, a venturi effect is how these carburetors work. The air gets pulled through by the piston going up and down, and everything gets pulled up out of the float bowl. And it's going to work the same way here. The difference is now we're putting a huge float bowl onto the bottom of these carburetors because methanol and alcohol use about 30% more fuel, roughly. That's what, you know, everybody online says. The rough estimate's about 30%. And it will add close to that in horsepower, according to the information that I've gathered between other racers, builders, and the internet. But anyways, you get the power jet installed and you run it all the way open and you put a bigger float bowl on. That way you have more fuel capacity. And then that power jet gets run off the bottom of the float bowl. and then that will go up to there, and then the Venturi, as it needs it, will pull extra fuel from the bottom of the float bowl and feed that in at wide open throttle. That's how you add the extra fuel, and then you dial it in off of that. You also have to drill your main jet to an 1/8 inch, 0.125. That is an 1/8 inch in decimal to fraction conversion. So we drill the main to an 1/8 inch. You can see I already drilled this one. And then the pilot jet, obviously, if you're increasing the main that much because you need that much more fuel, you're going to have to increase the pilot as well. I wound up going from a size 55 pilot to a size 80 pilot on this just to get it to idle. And I'll show you some idle clips here. Here's what lean looks like and sounds like.
Still working on it, but we're getting somewhere.
And then here's what getting on the right track sounds like, but we're not quite there yet. And then here's what a proper idle sounds like, to my knowledge. I'll just say it like that. And then for the base runs, so you got your power jet installed, main jet 0.125. Some guys will take the main jet out, and we call this a dump tube, which is the tube where the fuel dumps through, basically, right? It's where the needle sits inside of this little hallway, barrel, whatever you want to call it. I suck at terms sometimes, forgive me, please. But the barrel, the cylinder, basically where the center of that jet is, they drill that out as well. I did not drill mine out. They were at 0.111. So it's slightly smaller than the main jet. And I was gonna drill it out, but I don't want this to be too stinking rich. And I also changed my needle to an EGN. There's a whole series of alcohol needles that are so different from like race gas or regular gas needles. That is gonna be up to you to decide what yours needs. Mine's an EGN for now. I'm probably gonna play with that and try a couple different ones because I think it should be a little richer. I don't wanna burn the thing down. I would rather this thing be stupid rich and have to turn the jets in, the power jets in, rather than running this thing and burning it down to the ground for the, I haven't burned it down, but I keep killing the transmission in it every year. Anyways, this year I think we're gonna be good. But anyway, so size 80 pilot, 1/8 inch main jet. You can drill the dump tube if you want, but be careful. What I read online is they step them up little by little, you know, 0.116, 0.120, 0.125. A lot of guys were saying like 122, 0.122. Drill bit size is a really good area to be in. I left mine alone just for testing. Anyways, that is basically how you set up your carburetor for alky and meth. And then you're basically just dumping buckets of fuel inside the cylinders and then dialing it in. I'll use temperature and plug reads to tune mine in. I'll watch the temperature, and as the temp goes up, I'll know that I'm starting to lean the bike out little by little. So if you know, my first run from a dead 110 degrees and I come back and the thing's at 180, I'm gonna know I'm a little too lean. If it's 140, I'm gonna know I'm a little too rich. You know, like we're gonna be somewhere in there. So don't use those temperatures to dial yours in. I'm just giving ballpark estimates. Please do not chew me out. A lot of this is ballpark. I am not a professional at alcohol methanol conversion. I'm literally just sharing the information that I have gathered for my build and from various people around the globe. So do with that what you will. Hopefully you use it properly. Tuning is tuning. More fuel is rich, less fuel is lean. More air is lean, less fuel is rich. These things still apply with alcohol methanol. Plug reads still apply. The only difference is the plug might look slightly cleaner to my understanding, because obviously alcohol, methanol is a very corrosive fuel and it burns and cleans really well. Alcohol's in tons of household cleaners and stuff like that, or used to be. I don't know if it still is. Anyways, you get the idea. So with that being said, I'm gonna shut up. Let's get this thing out in the field and do some testing, man. I'm super freaking stoked. Let's freaking go, baby. Freaking stoked, man.
All right, boys. Let's give her a rip. Woo! That clutch works really good, man. I owe my builder a thank you. $120, which is good. She's usually up around 150 just from that little ride over here on race fuel. She's looking good, man. My boy got my wheels flipped, so we're a little bit narrower on the stance because we were sticking out. I got to get a J&J axle for this. I'm terrified. Currently, I'm not even going to lie to you guys. My emotions are crazy right now. I'm super terrified of running this. Only because I know the power increase that methanol adds to these things. And also I've heard many nightmare stories of these things sticking wide open because what methanol does, it cools everything down. And so I've heard of slides in the carburetors literally freezing. And I don't know if that means just freezing like they're stuck or freezing from like the cooling effect literally causing this to be frozen in place. But they say that's more with the hill drags. So we're gonna go ahead and give it our best shot. But you can see she runs stupid rich now, and that's the way you're supposed to be on methanol. To my understanding, this is all new to me, guys, right? And I have somebody helping me along, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but let's get some rips in. I want to show you guys two things. One, you can see that is the Chariot chain tensioner. Not a shout out, not an advertisement, just showing you guys a nice little key feature I added. That my buddy told me to make sure I add that, which was great. I didn't even know those existed. I knew they had a different style. I didn't know they had the style that bolts to the frame here and then also to the foot peg, which really strengthens up the rigidity of this thing. So yeah, we've got the chain tensioner stopping her from slapping around like that one time I was racing the Zilla. And then also we have the Chinese carburetor. So you guys can see for sure there's no Kian logo on the side there. It's very plain looking. It's that China aluminum that looks like it was vapor blasted. But just so you guys can see, we are actually running the Amazon 3497 without tax and ship carburetors, the fake Kians, and you can see they work really good when they're tuned properly. I say properly because methanol, you have to do special things like you guys see throughout the video to get these to run on methanol, but I've run them on gas and race gas too, and they work completely fine. And I know a handful of other guys that have also run these exact Chinese carburetors, and they love them, especially for like the methanol alcohol stuff where you need all that excess fuel and you don't really care so much about like the idle circuit and the air screw and all that. You just need it to idle, and then you need wide open. You don't need anything in between. They work great for drag bikes, but I have used them on stalkers as well, and they do work. So anyways, we're gonna do some rips on this real fast. I'm waiting for my camera girl. And yeah, we're gonna do a couple rips, see if this bitch hauls ass. And I am terrified of the amount of power this is gonna have. I think I'm more terrified that it's gonna stick wide open, and that's just kind of like one of those things. I need to ride it. That's why I've been revving the piss out of it, because I'm like, well, if I rev it and it doesn't run away and it doesn't stick, it should be fine during acceleration. But we're gonna do a light pull, turn around, and then we're gonna give her the beans. I just wanna make sure it doesn't stick. So, camera girl, can you be so kind as to come over here, probably over here, and then catch me doing forward. Actually, I gotta grab it. Just wait. I don't have to go, but look at him over there. I need an Allen key quick to tighten this stator cover down. Give me 2 seconds.
Intermission.
All right, stator cover bolts came loose. Got those tightened up. Should be ready to go. Camera girl, are you ready? Okay. Please, Lord, watch me. Watch over me on this one. Holy shit, that thing fucking moves out, man! I was so scared. Oh my God, look at all the roofs back here. Holy shit, dude, look at it. Oh my God, bro. Second gear. I have to stop at this to shift down. You're not with the override trans. It's a 1 through 6 all up, and so it's like a dog box, but you can't shift down while you're moving. And just because of the problems I've had with this transmission in the past, even though it's upgraded now, I just wanted to make sure that I avoid any issues I can for a third freaking teardown. You know what I mean? So I figured if I shut it off, take all the load off, because I have a bunch of weights on the clutch now to help. As you can tell, that thing hooks and books now, you know what I mean? All right, whoo, that got me shaking. Oh my God, bro. And that neutral down is beautiful, by the way. Thank you, Brad from Tyson. And she frickin' moves. Ready? 1, 2. Yeah, baby, she was fishtailing like crazy.
Alright, so there you have it. $37 Amazon carbs on my $15,000 Banshee, and guess what? She runs clean, strong, and tuned right. It's not always about how much you spend. Sometimes it's about knowing what you're doing, and guess what? Now you do. Or at least giving it your all. If you've got something out of this video, or if you just love seeing people risk expensive machines for cheap mods, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe, and drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. Also, let me know what other crazy builds or tests you want to see next. And hey, don't forget, don't sleep on the underdogs. Sometimes junk's just misunderstood.